All right, grade eights. This is a unit that follows rates. So if you haven't seen rates, maybe you should watch that. This is called proportional reasoning. So after you've watched rates, this is our next section. And as you can see, what proportional reasoning is, it looks pretty complicated, but this is what it is. It's a strategy that we use to solve rate problems. And it involves setting up what's called a proportion. And you may say, what the heck is a proportion? So let me show you. So a proportion, you need two equivalent fractions written beside each other. So equivalent means equal. So you will see shortly that we are going to write two equal fractions. You always keep the same units in the same place. So top and bottom, they have to stay the same units in the same place, and you'll see that shortly. And finally, your job is just to find the missing number. So just remember those three things and watch what we do here. So here's a question that you would use. You could use either the unit rate idea, but I want you to watch how proportional reasoning makes this problem very simple. So here's the question. Connor worked 8 hours and earned $135. The question says, at this rate, how much does he earn in 36 hours? Now, instead of using unit rate, watch what I do. I'm going to set up two equal fractions, keeping the same units in the same place. So 8 hours, $135 was what I was given. I'm going to write these two numbers as a fraction. So 8 on the top and 135 on the bottom. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter which one you put on top and bottom. So 8 refers to hours. I'm just going to put the letter H on beside the 8 and the dollars beside the 135, because I always want to make sure I remember that hours are on top, dollars are on the bottom. Then I make an equal sign. Now read the question. At this rate, how much does he earn in 36 hours? Notice where I put the hours on top. So I want to put this number on the top because it refers to hours. And on the bottom, I'm going to keep it consistent and put dollars on the bottom. But here, I write a fraction. I don't know how many hours, how many dollars. That's what I'm trying to find. How much does he earn? So this is my earnings, is my box. I don't know how much I'm going to earn at this rate. So you've seen this before. What I want to do now is I want to figure out, how do I get from hours to hours, because these are the two that I know for sure. I'm given 8 and I'm given 36. So I'm going to draw an arrow from 8 to 36 and find out what is the multiplying number. So 8 times what is 36? Now this is not an easy determination, right? We know it's got to be, well, we know it's between 4 and 5, because 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. That's too much. So it's between 4 and 5. So how do we find this number exactly? What I tell my students is, to find this number, we have to divide these two numbers. Which do I divide first? Do I go 8 divide 36 or 36 divide 8? Well, what I tell students is, since we drew the arrow, we have the arrowhead, whichever number the arrowhead is touching or pointing to, that's the one you divide first. So we go 36 divided by 8, and that'll tell you the multiplier. In this case, it's 4.5. So go 36 divide 8, and you'll get that. Now I know that whatever I did to the 8 to get 36, I have to do the same thing to the 135. I go 135 times 4.5, and that will give me my answer. In this case, it is $607.50. And so there's our answer, 607.50. Notice that this is a strategy that it's clean, it's simple, and it shows all the work and all the steps that you need. All right, look at the next question. We'll do it the same way. We'll set up a proportion. So the question says, so if, again, Connor walks 8 hours and earns $135, At this rate, how many hours does it take him to earn $900? So I'm going to do the same thing, write the same how I wrote this. I'm going to write the same fraction, 8 on the top and 135 on the bottom, hours on top, money on the bottom. Put an equal sign. Now this question says, how many hours? Well, I don't know. So I'm going to put a box on the top with hours. And the money that he's earning is 900. So I will write the fraction, 2 equivalent fractions. This is called a proportion. So we set up a proportion. Now, notice that it's the box up here that I don't know. So I don't draw the arrow from here to here. I'm going to draw the arrow from 135 to 900 and figure out what is that multiplier. How do I get from this to here? What do I times? So again, the trick is you divide this number first, because it's got the arrowhead. This divided by this will tell you the multiplier. And when I do that, I get a multiplier that is repeating. Put as many numbers as you can. So it looks like 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, and I'm just going to stop there. It's 6.6 repeating. So that means I'm going to do the same thing over here. 8 times 6.6 repeating, and it works out to 53, and I'm going to round it off to decimal 3 hours. It will take you 53.3 hours to earn $900 at this rate. And that's called proportional reasoning. This is example 1. We're going to do one more example just to make sure you've got it. So let's take a look at that. So here it is here. Example 2. Derek drives 468 kilometers in 4.5 hours. At this rate, how long would it take him to drive 2,350 kilometers? So we set up a proportion that is 2 equal fractions. So here's the 2 numbers I'm going to use. Doesn't matter which one goes on top, so I'll just put the 468 on top and the 4.5 on the bottom. Write it as a fraction. Make sure you put your units beside each number. So 468, that is kilometers. 4.5, that's your hours. So keep the same thing on this side. Kilometers on top, hours on the bottom. Read this part. It says, at this rate, how long would it take him to drive 2,350 kilometers? So 2,350 kilometers on top, and the box goes on the bottom. Now I have to find my multiplier. I have to draw an arrow from kilometers to kilometers. And I have to figure out, how do I get from this to this? 468 times what number gives me this? In order to find that number, I have to divide. So I take this divided by this to get my multiplier. And my multiplier works out to be a very long 5.02136,752. I tell students the more numbers you write, the more accurate your answer will be. So try to keep as many as you can. So now I know that's my multiplier. I do the same thing to 4.5. So I go 4.5 times this, and I get my answer of 22.6. I'll round it off to 6 hours. So at this rate, it will take him 22.6 hours to drive 23.5 kilometers. Sorry, 2,350 kilometers. And that is what is called proportional reasoning. Again, a strategy that we use to solve rate problems. And I hope that helps you, grade 8s. Good luck.